So actually the first video I'm going to put together is a great question from my wonderful videographer who's on the other side of the camera here, someone called Nick Brown, who's an editor of a local publication here in London. And she basically said, okay, so what's the best way to cast aside or put aside negative thoughts? And I have a very coherent and good answer for you. And it's not about trying to dispel the thoughts, because the thoughts are actually the flotsam and jetsam and stuff that come from the emotional state. So the mental state is actually, let's call it more junior to the more senior layer, which is the emotional strata. So you can't have negative thoughts unless you're in a negative emotional state. I'll give you an example here. So when you are racked with fear or anxiety, you'll feel that somewhere in the body, but because in the West we're so up in our head, all you notice is the terrible thoughts that are happening. We can call that a projection. We're projecting everything onto the blank canvas of the world. The world is a very neutral screen onto which we're throwing, which is where we get the word projection from, our stuff. So we're giving the meaning to everything. So the question was, how do you cast aside negative thoughts? Well, no, the negative thoughts are an effect or a side effect of something that's deeper, which is your emotion. So a very fear-based state will have very fear-based thinking. So what I would say is, don't try and go into battle with the thoughts, because that's too much of a tussle. It's going to be a mess. You can't fight fire with fire. So go into the body first of all, which is more that's core to you, and feel where the negative state is, be it fear or anxiety. So it's usually in a solar plexus or maybe heart area or somewhere in the body. And then what I do is simply, and there's loads of stuff you can do from that moment, but cancel out the feeling in the body itself. And the way to do that, you just notice the feeling, maybe give it a label, say, oh look, that's fear or anxiety. Then what you need to do is completely and utterly counterintuitive to what you think you should do. So what most people do is run away from that feeling. No, I don't want to feel that. Actually, you need to do the absolute opposite, which is to be with it in the body and completely and utterly let it be there. What it will then do is come up the body, and then you breathe it, use the in-breath to breathe it into what's known as the heart center. Now that is an energetic part of the anatomy, let's say, part of the subtle energy anatomy. And if I can show you where it is on the side, it's kind of around about this area here. So you breathe the feeling into around about this space here. What will actually happen is that as it hits the heart center, the feeling itself will transmute or shift into something else, which is kind of bliss or pure consciousness, if you will. So pure consciousness without the blemish of thought or emotion is what in the East they call Sat Chit Ananda, which is pure bliss consciousness. That is your natural state. So going back to the question, don't try and dispel the negative thoughts. Go into the body, let the feeling be there, breathe it into the heart center, hold it there until it pacifies it, and you just breathe it out on the out breath. And then what you'll notice then is, once you're quiet again in the body, there's no thoughts. That's the answer to your question. If you do have any other questions, by the way, any of you, please email them via my website, which is dansainsbury.com. Thank you.